Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
Alyeska Pipeline Service Company, fueling philanthropic programs and dedicated to creating educational and professional opportunities for Alaska Native people.
The National Weather Service.
Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us this evening for Monday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy. Up first here, satellite imagery. Yesterday, a big band of clouds here, a couple of waves, one right there rolling into Yakutat, another low center down here toward Kodiak. Front lifting into the Panhandle and across, rain changing to showers into the afternoon and evening there from south to north. A few breaks up here over the Tanana Valley, a band of light snow and clouds there along the southern slopes of the Brooks Range, northern Koyukuk Valley, and then back to the west. And then today, we're still watching a lot of cold air pouring out of the Russian Far East here. Whole pattern shifting eastward now, so that northerly wind flow coming right through the Bering Strait and down across the Alaska Peninsula today with pretty strong winds there and storm warnings, lightening up out to the west. Another mass of moisture coming in here, actually right through there. That's a weak warm front that brought a little bit of rain and warm conditions into Adak today, and that's shifting over toward Nikolsky. And then the main storm back to the west there, bringing gusty winds and rain into the Shemya area. Cold air, snow showers up here toward St. Lawrence Island, and then all that sliding southeastward on those strong northwest winds right across the Alaska Peninsula for mostly still in the form of rain there for the peninsula, as well as eastern Aleutians today, and also up into Bristol Bay, but snowfall occurring out here to the west. Otherwise, we had pretty strong trough here, very cold air aloft, pulling northward, and that brought some thunderstorms today, mostly around the Yakutat area, and then scattered out a little bit up around the Wrangell Mountains, and an enhanced area of showers now poised, or is probably already moving into the central and southern coast of that area. And on the chart today, there's that area there that's just sort of, as it approached the coastline, seemed to enhance and grow. And then several hours of thunderstorms occurring at Yakutat earlier today. And some of that worked inland, actually, as I mentioned. So some precipitation probably fell across the Copper River Basin in some areas, especially, again, toward the Wrangell Mountain areas. And otherwise, not a bad day here, south central Alaska to start with. But this rain occurring along the North Gulf Coast and Prince William Sound, picking up about 3 to 4 tenths, so nothing heavy, but that's already shifted westward into the Anchorage area this afternoon. Rain down across the Kenai Peninsula. Showers ending there for Kodiak Island. And anyway, some snow mixed with the rain there for the Alaska Peninsula. Very strong north winds blowing, gusts to 50 miles an hour at Cold Bay, and King Cove had gusts to 85 miles per hour earlier this morning, and they're still gusting pretty high, at least over 60 to 70 miles an hour into the afternoon. Those will be gradually coming down. Definitely a big decrease in the winds here for the eastern Aleutians today. Snow showers around the Pribilofs with lighter winds, but those should be ending if they haven't already as that high pressure area moves in. Snow showers back up towards St. Lawrence Island, but again, the winds really dropping off up here from what they had been. And then along this trough, again, light snow, maybe up to an inch in some areas with this from actually the Kuskokwim Valley all the way out to the southwest coast, gradually shifting eastward slowly with light snow extending up across eastern Seward Peninsula, Kotzebue Sound, and also up here along the western and Arctic coast. Just flurries, patchy fog on off to the east, and areas light snow developing now and have shifted in to the Fairbanks area and on off to the northeast. Back to the west, there's that front bringing the rain into the western Aleutians. Very weak warm front right through here, actually sort of lifting northward. Not a lot of weather with it, not very strong at all. The main low center pulls north of the Aleutians. Looks like almost gale force winds pulling into the central Aleutians tonight. Otherwise high pressure, light winds, partly cloudy skies right up into the southwest interior here. Colder temperatures moving in associated with this ridge, and a band of snow right through there across the Kuskokwim Valley up to the Alaska Range, and then snow showers all the way down probably to Nelson Lagoon into King Salmon. Strong winds coming in, storm force winds here from Castle Cape to Sitkinak tonight, and those diminishing back again as you can see over the Alaska Peninsula. Winds on the increase there, Kodiak Island, north to northwest, but should stay dry. All the shower activity now east of the island or south of the North Gulf Coast, but again, surges of moisture keep rolling into the Panhandle at least through tonight. And it looks like could be a mixture of precipitation going on here for the northern Kenai Peninsula, western Prince William Sound, Anchorage, Palmer, Susitna Valley. Could be isolated freezing rain to mixed rain and snow or something of that nature, but not very heavy. A little bit more in the way of significant snow back here to the west and northwest. Drying out over the Tanana Valley, staying dry over the Copper River Basin. And looking ahead to tomorrow, to start the day with, might be some snow going on, northern Cook Inlet, possibly into the valleys, but as the afternoon wears on, that's going to shift southward as the colder air rolls in and pull back from the west. So look for a drier, possibly more clearing kind of afternoon tomorrow. Again, northern Cook Inlet all the way up to the, Talkeetna, probably all the way up to Cantwell. Otherwise, snow at times for the Tanana Valley and areas of light snow up here to the north, more significant back to the northwest in conjunction with that low that's sitting just about on top of Point Lay. And westerly winds 10 to 20 miles per hour associated with that. Chance of flurries on the Arctic coast there, central coast, but light winds and dry conditions for the eastern north slope as well as the Arctic coast. And then we've got a trough out here, probably bring some light snow and fog. Western Seward Peninsula to St. Lawrence Island with scattered showers on down to the south. And then this system, most of it sliding into the south, the front there, still south of the Queen Charlotte's, but probably will catch the southern panhandle, especially Heidelberg up to Craig with a chance of showers, maybe Annette, Metlakatla. Otherwise drier to the north, lingering showers possible there up toward Lynn Canal, the Glacier Bay area to Skagway. And then for not much going on out here in the west for tomorrow, just a few scattered showers with fairly light winds. But then on Wednesday, a big storm out west there brings storm force winds looking south, 55 knots moving into the western Aleutians, but tense low center moving to the northern Kamchatka Peninsula. So southwest flow developing, warmer temperatures, a band of snow, actually something of a warm front with this trough here into the Yukon Delta. That'll be spreading on up into the southern Seward Peninsula and the Bering Strait, and that'll mostly affect St. Lawrence Island overnight Tuesday and into early Wednesday, and then milder conditions, southerly winds start to increase. High pressure over the interior, colder temperatures, clearing skies, especially where it's clearer. You'll see the cooler temperatures for sure. And a pretty nice day, ridging extending down across Bristol Bay, the Alaska Peninsula, the eastern Aleutians. So you're looking pretty good out here through Wednesday. May start to get an increase in the wind associated with that low to the south, depending on how far north and exactly when it decides to move. But Kodiak looking very good. Again, cooler, south central Alaska, maybe some variable clouds and some trapped moisture under that ridge there keeps flurries in across portions of the Tanana Valley, possibly down to the Talkeetnas, but most of the Copper River Basin looking mostly clear, as well as the southeast coast, higher pressure building into the Yukon, that low staying down to the south over the Queen Charlotte. So that northeast wind flow, offshore flow, is going to start dragging that colder air in from the north and northeast. Temperatures down that way today, we're all in the mid 40s, 43 at Klawock, 45 at Net, same thing at Sitka and Juneau, 43 over at Yakutat. Cordova had 40, and right around 20 here for the Copper River Basin, although McCarthy was up to 29. 3 degrees, quite a range up in the interior north of the mountains. 3 degrees at Northway, 31 at Delta, and then 24 at Fairbanks, again with some snow. Eagle up to 37. Teens back to the west and northwest with 10 degrees at Fort Yukon, 14 at Bettles, 2 below zero, Anaktuvik, and 11 at Umiat Airfield. Again, colder temperatures back along the western Arctic coast, Point Ley at 5, 14 at Barrow, still lower 20s showing up on the east side, lower to mid 20s here for the northwest coast, Kotzebue Sound, as well as the Seward Peninsula, under 20 though at Wales, 21 Savunga, and then temperatures range from 25 at McGrath with some light snow at times, about the same down at Bethel, and also with some light snow earlier today, upper 20s out along the coast. And for the Pribilofs, 30s, lower 30s, and that's probably about all the lower your temperature will get tonight. And for the peninsula, upper 30s, mid to upper 30s, and then some milder lower 40s out to the west. Lows for tonight, well, actually you could drop into the upper 20s out there. Otherwise, mid to upper 30s for the Aleutians, and colder air finally making it into eastern Bristol Bay here. So mid to upper 20s, king salmon on down the peninsula, and upper 20s, lower 30s to the west. Otherwise, the interior, single numbers and teens here over the eastern side, and that pretty uniform temperature pattern right up to the Arctic coast, and 15 to 20 here, the Seward Peninsula, Kotzebue Sound, lows in the 30s for the Panhandle. And for tomorrow, highs lower to mid here, south central Alaska, and 20s back out to the west there, upper 20s to low 30s for the Alaska Peninsula, beginning to warm up now over the eastern Aleutians and the Pribilofs with lower 40s, and a little cooler here for the Panhandle, looks like upper 30s to lower 40s, and even cooler the following day. For flying weather tomorrow morning, an upper level trough sort of rotating northeastward from the southwest. We've got IFR due to the snow. Looks like to the Alaska Range, possibly in the western Susitna Valley and down across the Kuskokwim Valley, all the way up just about to the Arctic coast. VFR to the east, a lot of VFR showing up now to the west. And then for tomorrow afternoon, really starts to clear out here. Coming VFR, still some marginal stuff left along the Alaska Range. And then also as that moisture drops down to the south, but mostly out of the area, definitely east of Kodiak Island, good VFR for the Panhandle, and even the southeast Bering, Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, VFR with marginal VFR toward Adak and Atka. For Anaktuvik, occasionally marginal possibly, and Adigan as well. At times it could be marginal, otherwise VFR. Lake Clark and Merrill, marginal VFR to VFR by the late afternoon. Rainy, same pattern, marginal to start with, probably go VFR in the afternoon, and as well as windy. Isabel though, VFR, Montesta will stay VFR, Tanita VFR, and Portage wide open, Chilkoot and White VFR. Freezing levels at the surface here, northern Bering Sea, now dropping down into Bristol Bay late tonight and tomorrow morning as this colder air aloft back through this area kind of swings northeastward, so 2,000 feet, Kodiak Island in across the Panhandle. And icing possibly above about 5,000 feet here of the mostly just light variety for Adak and Atka. Also could see some icing up here over the northwest with the moisture load up in that area. Otherwise, icing free here everywhere else in the state, southern Alaska, right across the Panhandle. And looking at the jet stream, main jet stream kind of splitting out here over the western Bering Sea. You can see one branch cuts in with a trough that's actually going to be cutting across not only from the Bering Strait to south central Alaska. It's going to kind of rotate northeastward later tonight and tomorrow, but northwest jet about 100 knots right across the Alaska Peninsula. Low pressure southwest of the Panhandle, and looking at 9,000 feet. Pretty light winds here for the southeast coast with these stronger winds staying along and offshore. Northwest 35 or higher for Kodiak Island. High pressure building in out here over the Alaska Peninsula, so lighter wind conditions there, but still northwest to start with for the mountains out in this area. Light and variable over the interior. Westerlies 20 to 30 knots cutting around the south side of these lows up over the north slope. And out to the west, kind of a variable wind pattern. Southeast 30 to 35. Northwest 35 for Manchitka, and then becoming lighter towards Shimia. And then 3,000 feet, again, northwest 30 to southeast 35 for Adak, and then dropping back to 20, southwest 25 for the Pribilofs. Northwest winds, that's where the strongest winds will be tomorrow here from northeast Bristol Bay down across Kodiak Island and the Aleutian Range. Lighter winds over the interior. As far as turbulence goes, pretty smooth for the Panhandle, northern interior, all the way down to the Prince William Sound area. But that mechanical turbulence here, occasional moderate chop, below about 5,000 feet. Again, most of Kodiak Island, northward along the Alaska Range. And I probably should have extended that moderate area off the coast there with those 40-knot northwest winds forecast, and then also along the southwest coast. And after the break, I'll be back to look at the ice edge and the marine forecasts.
Good evening. I'm Harry Keeling, and on behalf of Alaska Public Media and the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation, welcome to Hangar Flying. If you tuned in last time, you would have seen our guest, Dr. Earl Wehner. Dr. Wehner is a member of the National Transportation Safety Board. This is a very prestigious and very important responsibility. There are only 5 serving members and currently only 4. And Dr. Wehner is one of them. As I pointed out in the last program, has had an extensive career in aviation and aviation safety, and we're very fortunate to have him on our program tonight. Dr. Wehner, welcome back.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
So, the reason you're here this time is to participate in the loss of control seminar that we had. But let's start out talking about loss of control. What exactly is it?
Well, loss of control means the airplane did something the pilot didn't want it to do, or didn't do something that the pilot did want it to do. Often these are stall spin accidents where there is not enough altitude to recover from a stall or a spin. But they're generally high energy impact with terrain, and more often than not they're fatal. And actually almost 50% of the accidents in general aviation for fatal accidents are loss of control accidents.
Are they preventable?
They're virtually all preventable. They involve the pilot letting the airplane get into a configuration or condition that results in the pilot's inability to control the airplane.
That's pretty discouraging when you think about the number of fatalities, particularly here in Alaska, and the fact that they're preventable. What can we do to stem the tide? What can we do to reverse this trend?
Well, there are a number of things that can be done, but probably on the top of that list, according to a study that was done by a government industry collaboration, is implementation of angle of attack information, use of angle of attack to avoid getting the airplane into a configuration where it would stall and subsequently perhaps spin.
Would you spend just a moment, because some of our viewers, of course, are aware of this. What's the difference between angle of attack and like airspeed?
Well, angle of attack is what the wing experiences. And that's quite precise, and as you increase angle of attack, you get to a critical angle of attack where the lift no longer increases with increase in angle of attack, but now starts to decrease. So that's the critical angle of attack or stall angle of attack. And that stall angle of attack will tell you what the characteristic of the wing is going to be without regard really to what the airspeed happens to be or the G-load happens to be. And if you know what that margin is away from that stall, whether you're making an approach, a departure, or steep turns, this angle of attack is a very useful bit of information.
When I first met you a couple of years ago, you had just, I think, accomplished a really important policy change or part of that, which enabled general aviation pilots to afford angle of attack indicators. Can you talk a little bit about that?
There's an organization or an activity, let me call it that, called the General Aviation Joint Steering Committee. And it's government and industry working together. So it's the FAA, NTSB, AOPA, the community, experimental community, and so forth. They did a study on angle of attack because that's according to the data, the most prevalent fatal accident form, and identified a number of safety enhancements And out of those safety enhancements, angle of attack was the top safety enhancement in terms of being effective. But that means not only equipping the airplane, but also understanding how angle of attack really operates. Heretofore, it's been quite expensive to put angle of attack indicator on a Part 23 certified airplane, but about 1/10 of the cost to put it on an experimental amateur built, which to the people in this Joint Steering Committee didn't make a lot of sense when we think about why should it be expensive to improve safety. So in that organization, the FAA's Small Airplane Directorate was a participant, and they're the folks who certify the Part 23 airplanes. They came up with a policy change which allowed non-required safety equipment built to ASTM standards to be installed on the airplane as a minor alteration rather than a major alteration. So it can be installed and signed off by a mechanic.
I think you mentioned most wanted. Can you talk a little bit about that?
We have, as I may have mentioned in an earlier program, the NTSB has no enforcement authority. So we can't make anybody do anything. But we use tools like the most wanted list to advocate for safety so we can get our recommendations out and understood and perhaps complied with and safety improved. We use the most wanted list for that purpose. It's a set of 10 items which is reviewed every year, which cover all modes of transportation, but in particular loss of control in general aviation has been on the most wanted list now for the last 2 years.
Dr. Hoeppner, thank you for being on our program tonight. Thank you for coming out to Alaska, and thank you and your staff for trying to stem this horrible tide of accidents and fatal and serious incident accidents through loss of control. Thanks for being on the program.
Thanks for the opportunity to talk about it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed tonight's program. Until next time, fly safe.
Welcome back. Sea ice analysis for today, showing the east side here in the Central Coast gradually closing in, becoming more concentrated and a little thicker. Otherwise, the Chukchi Sea is still pretty much wide open, and the minimal ice that's along the coast here, when those south winds come in, this area through here will probably lift off the coast, and also up here along the western Arctic coast, and those southerlies come in, that same sort of pattern could also happen. Anyway, on to the marine forecast. We've got southeast 20 picking up to small craft advisory level winds here for the central and north coast. Light winds, northerly canal, becoming north at about 15, northeast 15 for Stevens Passage, staying southeast at 24, Clarence Strait. Then on Wednesday, enough high pressure builds into the Yukon there that those northerly winds pick up to 30 knots as the colder air or the cooler air seeps into the area that rides in on them. Otherwise, northeast 20 down to 15. And 20 to 25 knot winds on the south coast out of the southeast or the northeast. 12 to 13 foot seas, 15 to 20 knot winds north with 8 to 9 foot seas. Prince William Sound, northern Cook Inlet, north 15, picking up to 25 knots south of the Forelands, 45 knot northwesterlies, Kamishak Bay to the Barren Islands, 40 knots, northwest 40 east side of Kodiak, also for Shelikof Strait, and high-end small craft advisories to the North Gulf Coast with east-northeast winds there. Then for Wednesday, northeast at about 15 for northern Cook Inlet, a call at about 20 for Prince William Sound with higher gusts out of the northern bays, northeast 20 also for the North Gulf Coast, small craft advisories for the Barrens and the Kodiak Island, 25 to 30 knots, coming down to 30 knots there for Kamishak Bay, small craft advisories for southern Cook Inlet. Bristol Bay, northwest 30, 40 knot winds here, storm warnings this area tonight, and then falls back to 40 knots tomorrow and tomorrow afternoon. And in higher pressure here, becoming light and variable on the Bering Sea side of the peninsula, and then starting out northwest gales, but gradually coming down, in fact, back out here to the west in this part of the zone, probably coming down to about 20 knots. And then on Wednesdays, northeast, 30 knots here, and Castle Cape to Sitkinak, north 30, Lighter 15-knot winds on the Bristol Bay and the north side of the peninsula. For the Aleutians, southeast 25 for the Fox Islands, as well as the central Aleutians there with 8 to 10 foot seas. Not quite gales in the forecast here ahead of that front, south 30 knots, northwest 25, but then the next day, storms, 55-knot winds ahead of that intense front coming into the western Aleutians, 45 knots there, increasing Kiska Island, approaching Adak, otherwise southeast 25 to 30, and then lighter east-southeast winds off to the east at about 20 to 25. For the southwest coast, south of Nunivak Island, under high pressure, light variable winds at about 15 or 10 to 15 or 5 to 15 knots. South 30 for the Pribilofs, southeast 30 northern Bering Sea. And then on Wednesday, southwest 20 there for Kuskokwim Bay. Nunivak Island northward, 20 to 25 knots. Stronger winds back to the west and 25 knots for the Pribilofs. Arctic coast, central and eastern coast, east 15 tomorrow. Light variable winds here on the west side. Northwest 20, turn westerly at 20 on into Kotzebue Sound. And then for Wednesday, pretty light winds now, just south to southeast 15, kind of rolling around the coastline there at about 10 knots, turning westerly for the eastern coast. And for tonight, again, more showers in store for the southeast coast. Drying conditions here for the North Gulf Coast, Copper River Basin, as well as the interior. A band of snow out here to the west becomes a little more showery there along the Alaska Peninsula as colder air finally rolls into the area there. A chance of mixed precipitation here across south central Alaska tonight into early tomorrow morning. Then it shifts southward, begins to clear out to the north, Copper River Basin, chance of showers southern Panhandle. Big storm out west, again with the gales on Wednesday, otherwise colder with high pressure over much of the interior and northern Panhandle.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Support comes from the University of Alaska College Savings Plan, helping you and your child save for college every step of the way, from diapers to diploma. More information at uacollegesavings.com.